What's up, YouTube? This is your girl, Megan. Welcome back to the Hood Astro Queen, to all of my returning subscribers. But if this is your first time on my channel today, be sure to hit that subscribe button because you know you want to. So I am doing another free reading today, and I try to, just throughout the month, get a few free readings in because I'm typically very swamped with work, and I tend to prioritize my paying clients first, first and foremost. But whenever I get a little time here and there, I try and, look at some of these inquiries that I receive throughout the month, and I literally just select them at random. And, it makes it better if the descriptions are more detailed. If you're asking for clarification on a specific area of your life, I like very juicy and interesting readings. So that's kind of how I select, what reading I decide to do. I guess that's not at random then, huh? Make them juicy. Make them juicy. But nonetheless, I still really appreciate you guys, which is essentially why I do it. I understand everybody does not have money right now, or even if you do, sometimes you just want a little yang, a little insight on a particular life event, situation, another perspective to help get you through. And if you just really love astrology, like I do, it's always interesting to hear each astrologer give their take on the energies at play in your chart, right? So, and I really love my subscribers too. I love you guys. I appreciate it. The recent growth of my channel, which I know isn't much, but nonetheless, I appreciate every single one of you guys because at the end of the day, you are here, you enjoy my content, and you like to hear me run my mouth. And that's literally all I can ask for. I love you guys to the moon and back. So as a symbol of my gratitude, I try to crank out some of these free readings for you guys. So now that that's out the way, I have selected to do a reading on a young lady who I'm going to call Coco for all intents and purposes because she did not specify that I could disclose her identity. And her email reads, "Hi, love. I'm a huge fan of your chart interpretations and would love to receive a reading if possible. Do you do synastry/composite charts?" Okay, so here's the thing on that. I do synastry readings on my channel, but I do not offer them as a service, okay, like professionally. I do not take money to do synastry readings. And the reason is because most astrologers have their niche, right? Or a good astrologer anyway. You should know your area of expertise. And mine just isn't synastry, right? And, I can do it, but I would not feel comfortable taking money from people to do something that really isn't my area of, like my lane. I kind of stay in my lane, maybe, over time, gradually, as I learn more and get more comfortable with doing synastry readings, I will, right? But no, birth charts or natal interpretations are my thing. It's my, my lane, so to speak. So not to say that I can't do them, don't know how to do them. I just, that's not my area of that I normally do. That's not what I normally do. Just put it like that. So I would love to do synastry readings just, for the channel. Like, that's no problem. So she goes on to say, "I wanted to inquire about someone I was involved with, but things ended kind of abruptly. I've been trying to get him back in my life for about a year now after he cut me off. Recently, he finally forgave me, but he still acts iffy towards me, even though I personally feel like he has feelings towards me. My name is Coco. My birthday is June 5th, 1996 at 10:07 p.m. in Detroit, Michigan. His name is, should I say his name? We just gonna call him Jay. His name is Jay, and his birthday is September 11th, 1998. Born in Manhattan, New York. Birth time unknown. Thank you so much." Okay, so, and also another disclaimer. I typically use whole sign or the whole house system when doing charts or birth readings. But for this particular reading, I kind of toggled back and forth between the Placidus method and whole house. I know a lot of astrologers would typically like not advise that, especially for those of you who are just starting off or who are just getting into astrology. I would not recommend like you dibble dabble in both, like literally, because they're both valid for different reasons. I'm going to make a video on that later on, but whatever you choose, whatever you're more familiar with, so to speak, is what you should stick with. I, however, am hard-headed, so I like to experiment. So just putting that out there. So now, Coco, you are a Gemini sun, Aquarius moon. Now, and Capricorn rising. So I don't know exactly how you fell out with Jay, or why, rather, you fell out with Jay, but one of the first things that I noticed about your chart was that your Mars is in your 5th house of Taurus. Now, with the 5th house governing relationships, sex, casual affairs, and then you have Mars, which is just this fiery, hot planet, even in Taurus, and it can create a situation to where a person with this in their chart can experience a lot of sudden relationships, because Mars has very slow or very little endurance, so to speak. So very sudden relationships, short-lived relationships, fiery, passionate relationships that can end just as quickly as they started. Sudden attachments and sudden breakdowns in attachments are very common with Mars in the 5th house, particularly with childhood crushes, former neighbors, and old friends. That's if you're considering adding your Mercury there, because you also have Mercury in Taurus also. So I don't know how you met this J person, if you guys have been friends for a long time. However, to your point that the relationship ended so suddenly, this is just going to be a common theme for you, especially with Mars representing men, the males in a woman's life, right? And this might be particularly challenging for you, given that you're a Taurus, Mars, and Mercury at the 22nd degree at that. So yeah, you might have a pretty difficult time with this just because Taurus likes to move on its own time. But you have to keep in mind, everybody don't move on that. Okay, everybody's not going to move in accordance to that. People aren't going to be on your time. It might take you a minute to actually like somebody or really get used to somebody being there. But Taurus hates change, right? But ironically, Mars in the 5th house brings change and quite a lot of it. So it's kind of like a balancing effect. You have to take that into account also. Now, something else I found to be interesting as well is that Mars in the 5th house, because Mars is such like a competitive planet, and 5th house is the natural ruler or naturally ruled by Leo, which is also a very competitive sign. This placement can actually make for somebody who is quite they like a challenge. Let's put it that way. They like a challenge. They like chasing. They don't even mind the chase or asserting themselves or going after what they want. And let me pull back up your email, because it's the way that you worded that in particular that I found to be interesting. You said, I've been trying to get him back in my life for about a year now. Okay. And then recently he just finally forgave you. So that's you doing the chase. Okay. That's all about like, I got to go get it. You strike me as the type of person to, even more so than you actually like the guy. You know what I'm saying? You kind of enjoy that whole cat and mouse thing. And there are a lot of women who are into that. You have other aspects in your chart that point towards that. So I'm even questioning, and I would encourage you to ask yourself how much you really like this dude. Okay. And if you really do like him, there's some questions you need to ask yourself, but we're going to get into that later. Okay. Now, and with your Mars being conjoined to your Mercury under the whole house method, this could actually make you somebody who is very outspoken. And I take it you're the type of person to be very like I don't know, aggressive maybe in your speech, especially with your Mars and Mercury opposing your Pluto in Sagittarius. You could absolutely be the type of person to joke, you know what I'm saying? Joke with people, but kind of take the joke too far, especially if you're dealing with a more sensitive person, you know, rubbing people all kinds of ways, especially if they're not really abreast to your style of humor or your style of speaking and handling things. And then there's just this element of you could even be the type of chick to rub a guy the wrong way, like your, you know, aggressiveness and outspokenness. I'm team aggressive all day, but you know, everybody doesn't really, I guess you could say, take kindly to that, or feels super warm and nurtured by those type of qualities. And you have other things in your chart that kind of support that also. But there's that. Now, something else I noticed is that you have your Black Moon Lilith in the 7th house. Now, it's kind of a huge deal just because the 7th house deals with relationships. It's also the house of open enemies. It's that kind of house in a chart that connects your identity to, you know, the world. It bridges that gap between how you view yourself to how you present yourself in the world, how you appear in the world and interact with other people, particularly romantic, you know, relationships, but even interpersonal or business relationships as well. And Black Moon Lilith in the 7th house automatically brings an element of dysfunction to your relationships. It brings an element of something not really being right. And particularly with it opposing your ascendant of Capricorn, you're going to attract a lot of dysfunctional men, a lot of men who, with this Cancer element here, are hypersensitive. And that kind of definitely doesn't work in tandem with this whole you being a more aggressive and outspoken nature type of individual, or I'm going to tell it how it is, you know, or even being just very jovial and playful in nature, because your 5th house kind of points towards that, you being very playful and whatever. But with your Black Moon Lilith in the 7th house of Cancer, you could attract dudes who are very like ass hurt over things. That's why I said I don't know why you guys fell out, but it could have been a product of him being in his feelings about something, wishy-washy, moody, and men who tend to manipulate you or like employ, what do you call it? Emotional blackmail in order to get you to behave the way that they want to, which once again, I find particularly interesting because it's like you said, you were trying to get him in your life for whatever the reason may be. Now that he's here, he's giving you mixed signals. So you feel like he really likes you, but like, I don't know if he's acting like he's not over it or whatever the case may be. But with this get up in your chart, it could very well be manipulation. Okay. He's very well aware of what he's doing. He's no idiot. And he has some things in his chart that point towards that too, but we're going to get to him in a minute. And a lot of this kind of like your disposition on relationships and stuff could have started in childhood. I don't think that your parents were together, or if they were together, there was kind of like a divide in the household, especially with your sun trining moon. And then Black Moon Lilith in Cancer. Cancer is the natural ruler of the 4th house. So whatever was going on at home, there was a kind of like, I'm not going to say dysfunction, but maybe you saw a relationship that you did not want, you know, you saw dysfunctional relationships, or it was something to where like internally it kind of fucked up the way you view relationships a little bit. And as a result, it's like you carry around this like, almost like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, we'll get into it with your lunar nodal placements because it's there also. But like, maybe you don't you don't want to fully commit yourself to one situation, but as a result, you're going to attract men who want exactly the opposite of that. You're going to attract men who are very needy, who are very, like I said, whiny, complaining. And because the moon is all about, like, the moon is self-absorbing, like it absorbs everything. Like, you know, men who don't have any boundaries, who literally like want you all to themselves, and that's just not in your nature. That's just not how you, especially girl, with you being a Gemini, Sun, Aquarius. It's not in your nature. Not to say you don't desire closeness, but the way you go about it might be a little funny. But the men you attract, like, it's almost like you're not on the same page there. And getting to that theme, your lunar nodal placements. Now, this is interesting here because your Saturn is conjoined to your South Node in Aries, and your South Node indicates early life experiences even your past life experiences, if you believe in that. And this could create somebody who early in life encounter issues with men, just straight up. And like I said, this could be at home. This could be with authority figures. Maybe you saw something or something happened to you that was like traumatic in a way, but it creates somebody who feels the need to overcompensate and be even just like combative, destructive, impulsive. Or maybe you were that way earlier in life. I mean, you're still young. So maybe that's how you are now. You know, it's like a comfort zone, right? Your South Node is your comfort zone. So naturally you feel comfortable when you're acting selfishly, when you're acting impulsively, and when you're trying to, almost like this huge like bravado. And it kind of falls in line with you having your Mars in your 5th house, right? Because it can create somebody who is like, I don't even want to just say selfish, because even if you're dealing with somebody, it's almost like you want them on your terms. You know what I mean? Or because Aries does indicate passion, it's the sign of passions. When it comes to men, like, you want what you want, but it's like on your terms. And you could be very egotistical, and you could even be the type of chick like, I like you, but I'm going to do what I want to do at the end of the day. And it's not going to rub guys the right way. Like, you know, particularly a guy who is like insecure or doesn't have that high of self-esteem. But then with your North Node in Libra being conjoined to Chiron, like, of course, in this lifetime, right, Libra North Nodes have a karmic responsibility to kind of be more engaging in relationships and whatever. But it's like that Chiron in Libra can produce very disingenuous relationships. So it's not fair, but it's like when you do decide to activate that North Node and seek out relationships and harmony, you know, try to strive for these harmonious balances in relationships, it's going to be hard to achieve because there's this element, and like I said, it could have been from like early childhood experiences that makes it hard for you to fully, and it could go two ways. Libra and Chiron, or Chiron and Libra could create somebody who is the type of person who allows themselves to be used or taken advantage by others, right? They have no sense of identity. So there's that. Or you could be the type of person to use or take advantage of others. Let's be honest. And especially with your South Node in Aries, that's very likely. And it's not a good thing, but I'm not judging. We're human. That's just kind of how the cookies crumble, which is why I asked you to examine why you even wanted a relationship with homeboy in the first place, or why is he so important to you? You know what I mean? But overall, Chiron in Libra urges you, especially opposing your Saturn. This is going to be a lifelong battle. And the good thing is you're young. So after your Saturn return, this might be a little bit easier for you to do. But it encourages you to find balance. That balance between your personal identity and other people. Okay? What you want, you don't have to step on other people's toes. But you also don't have to sacrifice what you want or allow other people to treat you any kind of way or allow other people to string you along. Right? That's just, that's kind of like this theme of your life that you have to learn how to overcome. And if this dude, for whatever the reason may be, doesn't want to forgive you, I mean, girl, I hate to say it, but fuck him. Really, having your North Node conjoined to your Chiron in the sign of Libra can also produce somebody who is very indecisive in their relationships, which is something else I kind of noticed, because for whatever the reason may be that you guys fell out, you might even find yourself like going back and forth in your head, like, oh, dang, well, maybe I should, or maybe I should have been more of this and more of that. So, let me reach out to him. Let me reach out. Let me try to be more of this, and let me try to be more of that, and let me try to bend over backwards. And okay, well, maybe I do like him. Maybe I don't like him as much. So you're naturally going to go through that. But then it also creates a person who is naturally going to be wounded by their relationship partners, as Libra does deal with open enemies, which is another reason why I'm like, I don't trust this dude. Which brings me to old boy's chart, who, as you said, was born on September 11th, 1998 in Manhattan, New York. And depending, because we don't have his time of birth, so depending on what time he was born, he could possibly be a Taurus moon, with his moon in the later degrees of Taurus, or early Gemini moon. So it could go either way. But he's definitely a Virgo sun, with his sun at the 18th degree. That number 18 deals with some it's a very challenging number, because it brings about lots of character flaws. It brings about hypersexuality. It brings about even narcissism in some cases. Very challenging number. So that was red flag number one, girl. His sun is conjoined to his Mercury, Venus, as well as his North Node. He's a Virgo North Node. Which makes him very controlling, to say the least. It can create some controlling tendencies. But also with him being a Pisces South Node, there's also this tendency for, Pisces deals with deception. Pisces deals with lies, deceit, and particularly, jumping back to your chart, your Juno, which is our asteroid of relationships, it is, I guess, it encompasses a lot of the themes, right, of our relationships. Your Juno is at the 29th degree of Pisces, baby. So, and that 29th degree brings about third-party situations, third-party interferences, and high-pressure situations surrounding deceit, lies. So bringing it right back around to homeboy's lunar nodal placements, with him being a Pisces South Node, there's some there, okay? It's something about y'all's relationship, y'all's connection with one another. And like I said, it could be, I'm inclined to think it's on his part. He's not, I don't think he is who you think he is I guess the point that I'm trying to make. Manipulation, all of that, I feel like comes into effect, especially with his Chiron being at the 15th degree of Scorpio, and it's squaring his Uranus in Aquarius. So, I wouldn't even be surprised if homeboy, you know where I'm about to go with this, right? I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't let's just, whatever. I think he has some ways about him that you don't really fully understand. Also, to kind of further bolster my point, his Neptune is also at the 29th degree of what is this? Capricorn. So his Neptune is conjoined to your ascendant, which right there points towards ascendancy, a relationship where both people can kind of be fascinated with one another or intrigued by one another, and even I idolize, there's some idealization, putting each other on a pedestal. Like I said, it could be you to him or him to you. But that 29th degree brings about secrets. It brings about, like I said, manipulation and third-party interference, high-pressure situations. And then when you add the whole, with it being conjoined to your ascendant, I wouldn't even be surprised if he's even dealing with other people, to be quite honest, which could also reflect his kind of, I don't know, his inability to really act the way you want him to act, or, you know, like come down and make a decision like, okay, I either forgive you or I don't. I think he's playing his hand to the best of his abilities. And with his Black Moon Lilith conjoined to his Chiron in the sign of Scorpio, I mean, it's squaring his Mars. Yeah, this just points to him being even very possessive too, which takes it back to the whole, when I was discussing your chart, as far as me feeling like you're not even the type of person to really give him the attention that he wants anyway. And him finding ways, like going out of his way to be very manipulative. Like, I just feel like he knows what he's doing, you know, and is trying to get you to kind of like eat out of his butt, if that makes sense. Now, assuming that he's a Taurus moon, like I said, it just really depends on his exact time of birth. If he is a Taurus moon, this would make his moon conjoined to your Mars as well as your Mercury, which in synastry, like I said, to bolster my point from earlier, can create a situation to where he's easily kind of like either like overwhelmed or hypersensitive to the things that you say and the things that you do. And it can create a very like visceral response from him. Like, he can be easily triggered or jealous. Like I said, maybe it's something that you said to him, or even like by your stubbornness, but it can create a dynamic where you guys had, and like I said, I don't know why you fell out, but it can create very like passionate kind of relationships, because even almost like on some like love-hate shit. And not for nothing, if we're using the Placidus system or the Placidus method, his sun falls in your 8th house, which is all about, I mean, love and hate relationships. In synastry, anytime somebody's sun falls in your 8th house, it's literally going to be a love and hate relationship. There can be a difference of values. You know, you guys have different like contrasting sets of values. Definitely upsets in your communication styles. You know, so when you're ready to open up, he might not ready to be as open about certain things, and vice versa, which is kind of what I think is playing out now too. Like when you're ready to kind of, you know, continue the situation and keep things on the up and up, he's closed off. But then even when you're closed off to him, like if you stop pursuing him, watch him come back around, kind of thing. So there's that. Also, his Mars is opposing your moon and your Uranus, which kind of also goes or contributes to my point of you might find him to be insensitive, or you might find yourself insensitive. So it can go both ways. You can either find him kind of insensitive to your feelings and find him a bit possessive, like on the more possessive side, or, you know, you might be a little bit insensitive to him, or he might view you to be that way. You know what I mean? Also, with his Chiron and Black Moon Lilith opposing your Mars and Mercury, once again, bringing home this point of there being secrecy on his part, possessiveness on his part, manipulation on his part. Once again, emotional blackmail is no different. So I really feel like he's trying to manipulate. And it kind of just reaffirms this theme of you not being the only one. I don't think you're the only one in the picture. Once again, I don't know why you guys fell out, but I doubt that you were even the only one that he was dealing with then. So, yeah, I mean, there's that. All in all, I think you should cut your, cut your losses and just keep it moving. You know, you have so much in your chart to support the fact that, I mean, number one, that's kind of in your nature anyway. But then also, number two, if it's not a relationship that's going to activate the more positive side, the more healing part of your North Node in Libra, meaning creating balanced relationships to where both people are equally trying to make something happen, right? You're not going out of your way to reach out to him and he don't want the relationship. He's not going out of his way to bend over backwards for you, and you're pursuing him for your own personal desires, selfish needs. You creating or establishing a balance in the way that you deal with these relationships with people. They're supposed to be genuine. They're supposed to be organic. They're supposed to be harmonious. And I would advise you to take a look once again as to why you even want to be around this guy so much, or why you even want contact with him, and what happened earlier in your life that either causes you to attract certain men or for you to be a certain way. You know what I mean? Do your self-reflection. You're still very young. You know, enjoy casual situations, but until you really work out some kind of internal issues, it's going to be very hard for you to activate that North Node, like in a positive way, all right? Because you got Chiron conjoined to that. So it can manifest in some more like the dark side of those Libra tendencies or qualities. So avoiding codependency in unbalanced situations is what you should be striving for, okay? And yeah, so I hope that helped. I hope it resonated. Feel free to provide feedback. And yeah, y'all drop a comment down in the comment section below if you so choose. And be sure to practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And until next time, I'll holla.